The foundations that have pulled out: Thabo Mbeki Foundation, Steve Biko Foundation, Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, Chief Albert Lutuli Foundation, Oliver and Adelaide Tambo Foundation, F.W. de Klerk Foundation, Strategic Dialogue Group, Mkonto Sizwe MK Party, Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, Solidarity Movement, AfriForum, Afrikaner Leierskap Netwerk. All these guys have pulled out. So this video, I just wanted to call out all these organizations who have been selfish and put themselves and their organizations first over even the people that they claim to be representatives of. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Contrary podcast.
Am I allowed to swear here?
You can swear, bro.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government, but
It's just sad when we start then becoming indoctrinated. Your view on me.
Hi guys, welcome to the On the Contrary podcast with Emilio, Tobias. I have good news. We've just hit our first milestone and now we are semi-monetized or verified. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching the On the Contrary podcast with Emilio, Tobias. It's a good sign, especially with our topic today, which is the national dialogue. What is the national dialogue? Where did it come from? Why is everyone dropping out? I'm probably going to do a lot of videos on the national dialogue as it goes along. And that's what this channel is about dialogue. It's about South Africa, and it's about getting somewhere and doing something with all these conversations. So, where do we start? If you're like me, I've been struggling to figure out what the national dialogue is about, what's happening, what it's for, or like, what is the national dialogue? Because it's been spoken about probably since Mandela days, if not Thabo Mbeki's days, and it's been postponed and postponed and postponed, and the national dialogue somehow reminds me of CODESA and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Some people speak about it was a similar process when the Freedom Charter was being drawn up. So what's happening? Who's in the national dialogue? And why are we only finding out who was in the dialogue once they pull out? It's very tricky to get information on this thing and to understand exactly what it's about. But since I've been reading and trying to figure it out and putting at least some effort in, because something does tell me that this is an important thing, it's an historic thing, and you gonna one day wish that you either paid more attention to it or you should have put a bigger effort in participating in this national dialogue. Ne? So, the national dialogue seems to be, they're saying there's a convention happening between the 15th and 17th of August this week. And this is just the opening convention, the way I understand it. It is not the national dialogue per se. So there's a bunch of organizations and groups and peoples, eminent people who are like famous or well known in their various field, not only like famous, like well-respected, well-revered and renowned people in their respective fields. Some of those fields are more on the celebrity side, some of them are on the academic side, some of them are on the cultural side and business side and all these things. So we're all going to talk about these certain things that we need to understand, or at least in my understanding, the things we're going to talk about is so that we can have a single view and vision as a country that incorporates everyone, what everyone has to say. Now, after this convention, this thing's going to take about 9 months, and there's going to be all these conversations happening throughout the country on radio stations, community radio stations. There might be like town hall meetings. And I'm wondering, like, in this if you now an individual and you go participate in a so-called national dialogue meeting in your community, how do you know that your contribution has made it to the top? How do you know? Is it like voting, where it's like an aggregate of everyone's feelings? How does that happen? I have some ideas on how that can happen and how we should really put together all the conversations. But the real thing I want to talk about in this video are all the people that are pulling out, no pun intended. I don't know why they're doing it. Everyone is saying that this thing is being rushed. Nah. People are saying there's uncertainty about the 700 million budget for it. And then they're also saying that the thing is not really people-led. It feels like it's government-led. But we're always complaining that government takes too long to do things. And sometimes you need someone who's going to be decisive and says, yo, man, we're doing the right thing. We don't need 16 signatures to start. And everyone who's saying, like, this thing is too rushed, the first meeting is a planning meeting. Let's start the thing. Let's get everyone in the room. They'll probably discuss what the resources are, what the idea is. And in these 3 days, these 1,000 people will somehow get to give input and ideas on how the thing should be conducted. They haven't even started with the topic. I think they're only speaking about the structure of this thing and the extent of this thing. I guess the government has already decided, that being the president, that the scope of it is going to reach as many people as possible, if not every single person. And then they've also laid out the types of issues that will need to be discussed. Where's this thing? Inequality, the land issue is there, crime, corruption, governance, all those types of things. Let's see if there's more. Those are the things they've put forward already that will be on the table to be discussed and resolved. The convention, as I understand it, will be opportunity for all these people who have not yet said anything to contribute to the framework. But now I think it's very wrong and it's very selfish for all these different foundations. I'll read them out. And I think as a country, we must call them out, every single one of them, even if it's a foundation of someone we respect, whether it's the foundation and the person is still alive, who the foundation is representing, or it's respected people that have passed away. The foundations that have pulled out: Thabo Mbeki Foundation, Steve Biko Foundation, Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, Chief Albert Lutuli Foundation, Oliver and Adelaide Tambo Foundation, F.W. de Klerk Foundation, Strategic Dialogue Group, Mkonto Wesizwe, MK Party, Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, Solidarity Movement, AfriForum, Afrikaner Leierskap Netwerk. All these guys have pulled out, and they mentioned those 3 reasons. The 700 million is not an approved budget. It was the first proposed budget. They have now since reduced that by like 300 million, and it's at 400 million, and they are currently working on reducing that budget once more. So it's funny that like all of these guys are like pretending they don't know how budgets work. And I don't know if it's personal issues and political issues with Cyril Ramaphosa or with the ANC. Because my thing is, the thing we've definitely lost in the country is that yes, we might have different views and different politics and vote for or belong to different parties, but like the office must still be respected somehow. I don't think any of these guys are willing to just let it go. Like, I think it's very egotistical of each of these guys because they foresee the thing that they're seeing. And the reason why I think they're pulling out really is because they can already tell there'll be so many compromises that will need to be had when we're having the conversation. And they say, how you know you got a good deal is if both parties are unhappy with the outcome. Now just look at the types of people who have pulled out are probably the ones that are on the further extremes, not extremists, but on the further extremes of the political aisle. From Steve Biko, Thabo Mbeki, and Chief Albert Lutuli Foundations and the like. And then on the other side, you have Freedom Front Plus and some Afrikaner groups, Solidarity Movement, have pulled out. So neither one of these types of organizations are ones that are willing to compromise on their principles, their views, their convictions, and all of that stuff. And I think as South Africans, I wanted to say neutral South Africans, we shouldn't celebrate someone who's not willing to compromise anything. There are some things that you should never compromise, but there are some things where you really need to choose your battles in what you're fighting for. The other thing they're saying, the reason why they're pulling out, which is it's a very flimsy thing to say. They're saying this thing is now being government-led and not people-led. How do you expect, before the first convention, people, if you want it to be led by the masses, how are they just going to automatically gather and start having conversations? We're already having conversations. We just said Gaten McKenzie and open chats and a whole lot of other things going on that drives conversation in the media and in public discourse. But what do you mean it's not people-led if the government is putting together the logistics for the thing? In that sense, definitely it must be government-led. I don't think they've led the conversation. They've put a few things on the table. But the point of your presence in the first meeting, in the first convention, is to contribute to the agenda, is to contribute to the plan. But now you're pulling out to try and delegitimize the thing because you're feeling like you don't want Cyril to have another win or another long those things that affect countries for a long time. Like Cyril had just at the end of his term, Bellable, NHI, and the other one. Other presidents do the same thing. Obama had the same thing in his last year in office, just to make sure that you implement something that would be worthy of your legacy or that would define your legacy. So I think everyone is trying to spite Cyril, the man, so that he doesn't have a strong enough or big enough legacy. Tell me if I'm mistaken and what you think. Number one, what is the national dialogue about, and who are the ones that are putting politics in the thing? Of course, the ANC is going to back the president, but I don't find that because ANC is cheering for the thing and ANC is supporting the president. It doesn't show to me that ANC is pushing their own agenda. Now y'all are pulling out so that when this process is done, you're going to want to invalidate it. And now y'all wouldn't have had an opportunity to participate in it. And I think as South Africans, these foundations, let them carry on with the good work that they're doing. But as far as this thing goes, let's not stop. Like, whose action is A to tell us these things, man? Who's MK Party to tell us these things? Why do they want to participate? Because of another issue with Cyril. And then they say Cyril is indecisive. No, man, we must call out these things when they need to be called out. Because at the end of the day, when this thing is done, it's going to outlive Cyril Ramaphosa himself. It's going to outlive the next few presidents, because this is about finding out or deciding who we are. We need to decide our identity and the things we stand for as one. And these things should influence policies, politics, and mindsets going forward, so that you have some values and principles and ideologies that are not political, or that are not left or right. There needs to be those things that whether you're left or right, that we come together and we decide that, yo, this is what we believe in, this is right, this is wrong. Or every other thing we can debate. We must know that for the most part in 94, when similar things, like a similar conversation was happening, it was in some sense a national dialogue. And at least what we came out there with, one thing that no one can debate or deny, is that racism is wrong. Modern politics has now evolved the definition and expanded the definition of racism, but at least we all know it's wrong. We can now debate about the direction of the racism and all that stuff, but one thing that's not debatable, that doesn't mean you're left, doesn't mean you're right, is that racism is wrong. And before that, racism was sometimes seen as a reasonable method to get certain things done. And that was on one or other side of the spectrum. I doubt people still think like that. They are definitely still racist people, but they know that racism is wrong. So this video, I just wanted to call out all these organizations who have been selfish and put themselves and their organizations first over even the people that they claim to be representatives of, or that they would have whatever the case. Really, what do you want? Do you want people to just come together and just talk? Is that what people led means? No, guys. No, guys. That will not work. Now, the thing that I wanna, we'll talk about the various topics and the things that they'll discuss in these groups or work streams or whatever the case may be. My question is just, how, if I participate in a town hall, if I participate in a survey, if I participate in a radio interview, how will all those things be filtered? How will all those things be recorded? Here's what I think and what I suggest we should do. Let AI tell us what everyone is saying. So when you have a town hall meeting, we record that meeting verbatim. Every person, whether their views are controversial, whether their views are uplifting, whether their views are whatever, we record every interaction verbatim on video, or at least with voice. We transcribe all those conversations, feed them into AI, and AI must give us a detailed report to say, this is what people are saying, these are the sentiments, these are the things that come up more than the other things. Then the AI from all of these conversations will give an overview or a summary of what the contentions are, and then we discuss. Let those eminent groups, let those leaders and representatives then discuss and debate how to define that or how to put that down in whatever social compact or document is gonna come out of this thing. And then once the document is done, obviously now government will then promote the values and principles that are drawn from that thing. And that way, everyone will know that things were heard. Everyone will know that they are part of the thing, and everyone will know that they've compromised something for the greater good of South Africa. Let me know what you think, how you're feeling about this thing before it started. If they're streaming tomorrow, I might stream, and we'll listen to some of the conversations or speeches that they're having at the first national convention for the national dialogue. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Emilio Tobias. This is the On the Contrary podcast. Okay. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Contrary podcast.
Am I allowed to swear again?
You can swear, bro.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government, but
It's just sad when we start then becoming indoctrinated your view on me.